Hello friends, I'm Nire, welcome to my channel, and today's video is all about my February reads. That book is just chaotic. It just, so many things happened. I love this book so much. I ended up giving it a 5-star, which I did not expect to. It just felt like a satire, I'm not gonna lie. There's some big drama going on in this book. I had my jaw on the floor basically for the first half of this book. I was just like, what is happening? So just like last month, we're going to be dividing this video in 2 sections. So first, we're going to be working on my reading journal and we're going to be putting in all the new information and doing my February spread. And then afterwards, we're going to be getting into the books that I read during February and what I thought about them. Did I have a good reading month or not? I will surely let you know when we get into the wrap up section of this video. But first up, we're going to be updating my reading journal. I had so much fun doing this with you guys last month, so I really wanted to do it again for this month. I'm thinking of doing some different things for February. So I'm just like really eager to go in and just like put all my stats. I think that it's looking so good, and I just feel like the most things we add to it, the better it's gonna look. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start working on my reading journal for February. All right friends, so here we are at my reading journal. If you watch my January reading journal update, then you will know that we are keeping the main spreads very simple and our theme is sunflowers, and we're also using a color palette of green and yellow. So you'll see that a lot throughout the general like yearly spreads. Also, if you watch that video, you are going to be familiar with the setup of this, but I'm going to give you a quick flip through of the spreads that we have so far, just in case, so you can have a little refresher on how these spreads are looking like. So like I said, this is my cover page, and then if we move on, we have my yearly stats. I am a stats girly through and through, so I need to have this page. This is a must-have for me in my reading journal. But in here, we're just keeping track of some basic stats, and then we move on to my reading log. Like I said last month, I'm not going to continue on with this spread because I just feel like it is so unnecessary and it is so time-consuming for nothing, because I am going to be talking about all of the books that I put on my reading log in my separate monthly spread. So I just don't think that it is really necessary. So I'm not going to continue to update this one. And then we move on to my genre tracker and my favorite books. So over here, I'm just going to keep track of some different genres just to see which ones I read most of. And then over here, I'm just going to put my favorite book for each month. And then moving on, we have my 12 in 2026 and my A to C challenge. So over here, I have 12 books that I would like to get to in 2026. So far, we've been doing great. I've already read 4 of them. So we're definitely on track to be reading them all by the end of the year. And over here, we have the A to C challenge. And for this one, I'm not going to be thinking about it too much. I'm just going to be reading whatever I want. And if I read a book that correlates with any of the letters that I have left, then I will fill it in. But I am not going to be like too stressed about trying to finish this challenge. And then moving on, we have the book bracket. So this is how it's looking like. So far, we only have 1 favorite book over here in January. And then we move on to my January spread. For this month, we decided to go with a winter wonderland theme. So we have a lot of blues and a lot of like snowflakes and little pretty sparkles here and there. And then we have a couple books over here as well. This month, I am gonna only do a 2-page spread because I think it is gonna look so much better if I have every single month be a 2-page spread instead of something like this where I have a leftover page here. I think that what I'm gonna do over here is going to be a full spread just for Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan, because that was my favorite book of the month. And so we don't waste a single page, and then we can continue just doing our monthly like 2 spread journal entries. All right, so that is my reading journal. I hope you liked it. So let's go ahead and get started updating all of the yearly spreads and then also start working on my February spread. All right, so we are starting with filling in my reading goal spread. I am filling in all the way up to 15 books because this month I read 9 books and last month I read 6. So we have currently read 15 out of the 50 books that I would like to read in 2026. Moving on to one of my favorite spreads, the yearly stats. I just love keeping track of everything about my reading. And then for the genre tracker and the favorite book spread, I am really liking the genre tracker. I didn't think that I was going to enjoy it as much as I am. It's just really fun to keep track of, and I cannot wait to see it more filled out later in the year because I think it's going to look really good. And then for my favorite book, it is actually This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. So the second book in the Before I Let Go trilogy. I'm just having the greatest time with that series. And then for the 12 in 2026, I was able to read one book in February for that challenge, and that was When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, which I gave 4 stars. And then moving on to my A to C, I believe I was able to fill in 4 letters, so we're also seeing some progress with this challenge. And then here we are finally in my February spread. I really enjoyed how this one turned out. I think that I'm definitely going to keep up with the 2 spread monthly journal entries. I just think it looks so much better having all of the stats and all of the books, everything just laid out flat for you to see. However, I don't know if I'm going to keep up the scalloped edge for next month. I don't know, maybe I'll try something different decoration wise, but at least the formatting and the way that I'm going to organize everything is going to keep being quite similar, I think, for the next months. But for February, because it is the month of love, I decided to go with a pink and purple theme and just add a few little hearts here and there because it just felt right. So that is what I went with. I think it looks really good, and I really enjoyed how the bright colors just pop out of the page, and I really like this spread. I think it's really cute. And now it is time for the final flip through. I hope you enjoyed watching me fill in everything and making the new spread for this month. I had a great time. I think that it is definitely something that I'm gonna incorporate in my reading moving forward because I'm just absolutely loving how it's looking so far. All right, so it is time for my February reading wrap up. First, like always, we're gonna go through some stats. So this month I read a total of 9 books. Hopefully in March we continue reading this amount of books because if we do, we're most definitely gonna be hitting my 50 book goal this year. And then I also read a total of 2,989 pages. All of those books were fiction, so I unfortunately again did not read a single nonfiction book. And then finally, my average rating for this month was 3.78. I am so happy with that number. You have no idea. I was almost at a 4-star average rating this month. So I'm just going to call that a win because I've just been having so many bad reading months, like just one after another. And I just needed one where I mostly read books that I enjoyed. And February was definitely that month. So I'm super happy. All right, so let's get into the books that I read during February. As I said, I read a total of 9. 3 of those books are actually going to be part of a future reading vlog. So I'm not going to do a very in-depth review for them because I just don't want to let you guys know what I think about them before I upload that video. So keep on the lookout because there's going to be a reading vlog coming for those. And those 3 books are Don't Let the Forest In by C.J. Drews, The River Has Roots by Amale Mortal, and Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. The only thing that I'm gonna let you guys know about the books is that one of them I really disliked, the other one I liked, but there were some things that I didn't love, and then one of them I gave 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. So moving on, during February I was able to read Before the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, and I'm so incredibly happy to say that I really enjoyed this book. It was a 5-star prediction for me. However, I ended up giving it a 4-star, which is still a really great rating. I still really enjoyed it. It is definitely a book that I'm gonna recommend over and over again. I actually do have a reading vlog of this book up on my channel because it was the Buzzword Reading Challenge pick for February. So if you want to go ahead and watch that video so you can see a more in-depth review of that book. This is basically a horror book about a woman who finds a kid inside a bush close to her apartment. And so she takes him in because she doesn't want to just leave him there because he doesn't look like he's in the best conditions. And then suddenly she hears a commotion outside her apartment and she goes to check it out. And she sees that the kid's dad is actually there, like trying to get to him, but she just doesn't think that he's safe with him. So she doesn't want to tell the dad that she has the kid. And that is basically like the tip of the iceberg of that book because that book is just chaotic. It just, so many things happen. Things are just spiraling out of control left and right. There is not a single like relaxing, like nothing happening moment in this book. So it is one that I would most definitely recommend if you have not picked it up already. I will be reading more from Nat Cassidy because this is actually my first Nat Cassidy book. So I will be picking up more in the future because I had such a great time with it. Then we have The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Susan Collins. This is actually a prequel novel of The Hunger Games. And as we all know, I read the main trilogy last year, so I was super excited to get into the prequels this year, and I love this book so much. I ended up giving it a 5-star, which I did not expect to because I already watched the movie, so I knew everything that was gonna happen, but this book was incredible. Susan Collins is an amazing author. If you didn't know, in this book we follow Carolina Snow when he is younger, and he is to be the mentor of one of the tributes for the 10th annual Hunger Games, Lucy Gray, and in the story we just follow both of them as they, you know, navigate that situation. I really loved how this book expanded the Hunger Games universe. It made us understand things a little bit better without justifying any of Snow's future actions. If anything, I hate Snow even more now because this book was just insane. Everything that happens is insane. If you read it, you know. In my opinion, I think it is a very necessary novel and I really enjoyed it. So I cannot wait to read Sunrise on the Reaping because I have a feeling that I'm most definitely going to be enjoying that book as well. Next up, we have Love Mom by Liana Sander. This is a thriller where we follow a woman whose mother recently passed away, who is this famous author. And then one day after her funeral, our main character goes to her car and she finds this letter that says it's from her biggest fan. And when she opens it, it's a letter from her mother. So that is like the basic premise of that book. And I unfortunately did not enjoy this one. I ended up giving it 2 stars. It just felt like a satire. I'm not gonna lie. If you read the Frida McFadden book, I don't know the name of it, but I'm gonna put it somewhere on the screen so you know what I'm talking about. And that is a satire on thrillers. And this book just felt like that. It really did feel like that. It was just all over the place. The plot twists and the reveals were just like, you know, out of pocket, very insane. insane, very chaotic, something that just would never happen in real life. Did I have a good time? I mean, yeah, I guess, but it wasn't like anything substantial. To be honest, I would not recommend this unless you want like a little bit of a laugh, or maybe you want to read something that is more like the Freedom McFadden book that I just mentioned. But if you're looking for like a solid thriller, I would not recommend this one. Next up, I finally read Wings of Starlight by Alison Saff. This is actually a Tinkerbell story where we follow Clarion, the queen of Pixie Hollow, but before she actually became queen, we follow her as she is queen in training. This is basically a young adult fantasy romance where we follow, like I said, Clarion and the Guardian of the Winter Woods and their romance, and I really liked it. I ended up giving it a 5-star rating. I did not expect to do that. I really think that I was gonna give it like 3, maybe a 4-star if I really enjoyed it. I just thought that it was gonna be out of my age range, you know. I thought that it was gonna have like more of like a middle grade kids books vibe, but it didn't. It most definitely didn't. I had such a great time with this. I loved the plot. I loved the writing. It had an amazing atmosphere. It was so whimsical, so magical. I just had the best time with this. So if you were thinking of reading it, or if you didn't even know it existed, I would highly recommend you pick this up, especially during winter time. We are still kind of in winter, I think. So I think that you should definitely pick this up if you live where it's like very snowy and you just want something very cozy, very whimsical. And they actually announced a second book in this series. I'm definitely here for it. So I'm definitely so excited to continue reading anything that comes out of this little Tinkerbell series. Next up, I read my favorite book of the month, and that is This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. Before We Let Go was my favorite book last month, and now This Could Be Us is my favorite book this month. So I can safely say that I'm just absolutely loving Kennedy Ryan's writing. This is actually the second book in an interconnected standalone series where we follow 3 best friends and their romances, but it is so much more than a romance. This book definitely has some aspects of like literary fiction and women's fiction, and it's just such an incredible series. If you're taking any recommendation from me today, let it be this series because it is absolutely fantastic. And this one, we follow our main character Soledad, and she's definitely going through it. Really chaotic things start to happen, and basically her life is just completely turned upside down. I don't want to tell you exactly what it is about because there are some things that I think you should figure out while you read because they are shocking. Okay, there's very much drama in this book. I had my jaw on the floor basically for the first half of this book. I was just like, what is happening? And I just absolutely love Soledad. I love her so much. And also, I cannot forget to mention, Soledad is actually Puerto Rican, so we get to see a lot of Puerto Rican culture included in this book, which just made my heart so happy. And I was just so excited every single time that she mentioned that she was cooking arroz con gandule, or she was making pasteles, or she was making like coquito or something like that. And I was just like, okay, I'm just having the greatest time. So absolutely loved it. I would most definitely recommend it. Again, if you're gonna take any recommendation from me today, let it be this one. Go read this series because Kennedy Ryan has taken over my life. I'm most definitely gonna be reading everything that she has written. And then finally, the last book that I read during February was Red City by Mary Lou. I don't have very good things to say about this book. I ended up giving it a 2-star rating. This is an adult urban fantasy where we follow Addie and Sam. There are 2 alchemists from competing syndicates, so there's like a lot of conflict between them two, and a lot of things happen in this book. Again, I don't want to get too much into what it is about because I don't want to spoil anything, but I didn't love this book, to be honest. There were many things that I liked. However, I really enjoyed the magic system, the alchemy of it all. Like, it was very interesting. Also, I did like the beginning parts of the plot. I thought that it was setting up for something really great. By the ending, I was just like not really vibing with anything, like the plot or the characters. And also, this book made me so uncomfortable sometimes because we get some pretty inappropriate like relationships in this one, and I just was not having it. After we first got introduced to one of the really inappropriate relationships, I was just like not really wanting to pick this up. I was just like very uninterested in it because it just made me feel so uncomfortable, and whenever I put it down, I didn't want to pick it back up. I did have to finish it, however, because I was making a reading vlog on it for my TikTok, so I had to, you know, push through it, but I didn't like it. I ended up giving it a 2-star rating. All right, so that brings us into the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and also if you have not done so already, don't forget to subscribe. I try to upload a bookish video at least once a week, so if that's something that interests you, please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.